Good morning, everyone, and we're back for our second session on QuickBooks. This one is Small Business Tools, Choosing an Accounting Software. This is going to be an excellent webinar. My name is Paula McCain, and I'm one of the senior advisors at the North Central Texas Small Business Development Center. Today is National Chocolate Pie Day, and who doesn't love a chocolate pie, a pecan pie? Um, the SBDC is a leading provider of assistance for small businesses. We are grant funded, and because of that, we can bring all of our services to you at no cost. Quick reminder, today's webinar is being recorded and will be added to our YouTube channel. It is also interactive, so please feel free to raise your hand. You can use the button at the bottom to raise your hand. You can type something in chat. You can unmute yourself. Just feel free if you have any questions. Today's presenter is Stacy Kildal, who is an advanced certified QuickBooks Pro advisor, the first one certified in QuickBooks Online, and the first to pass Intuit's payroll certification exam. She's been a member of Intuit's Trainer Writer Network since 2005 and is celebrating her 20th year running her Michigan-based bookkeeping firm, Kildal Services. She has 6 cats with a new kitten, 2 kids, and 1 husband. She enjoys biking, hiking, kayaking, and snowmobiling. Welcome, Stacy.
Thank you, Paula. Thanks for having me. I want to thank everybody at the North Central Texas SBDC. They are amazing. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can get started and just rearrange a couple little things here. That over there. Okay. So we're going to talk about choosing the right accounting software. And I recently found, so I've used QuickBooks. I'm not gonna lie. I have used, first, wait, let's get into this. You guys, if you're watching this or you're attending, please make sure to visit the North Central Texas SBDC or their website, or give them a call to find out exactly what they can do for you. Amazing resources that SBDC, your local SBDC, has for you. They want you to succeed in your business, and there's tons of resources that they have. They can help you write business plans. They have lots of training. So many resources, so please make sure you check them out. I want to thank all of you, Paula, Lori, Brett, everybody, for having me and asking me back. I love doing these sessions. I was a trainer for Intuit for 19 years. I have had my business, as Paula mentioned, for 20 years, and I own Kildal Services LLC. Sometimes my hair is different colors. We're going to get right into this. So I want to preface all of this, though, by saying I have been using QuickBooks Online for since 1998. I'm a diehard QuickBooks fan, but recently with I've had some clients who've said, you know, I'm looking for something maybe not QuickBooks. I'm looking for something a little bit different. So I did a whole bunch of review. I did a bunch of, testing out a bunch of different pieces of software. I looked at FreshBooks, and I think Bryce looked at maybe Sage or Zoho, and we talked about that. We kind of, between the two of us, we kind of compared a bunch of them. And the one that I landed on that I really liked is called Checkbook, and it's CHEQ book. So it doesn't have all the bells and whistles, and you'll see the interface is quite a bit different than QuickBooks Online, but it still has pretty much everything there. If you want something that is very affordable and has the basics to run a business, I cannot recommend Checkbook. It's actually what I recommend instead of usually self-employed, because QuickBooks Self-Employed doesn't convert to a QuickBooks Online. So you're going to have to start QuickBooks Online from scratch if you want to kind of get a little bit more robust program. And so for somebody who I think might be a self-employed option, I'm definitely going to have them look at Checkbook or maybe even a QuickBooks Online Simple Start. But really, it boils down to what their needs are. That's really what we look at. We look at first and foremost what the needs are, what they need in the software, as well as what the budget is. So when you're thinking about, like in the last webinar that we did, Brett said he's got a small business that he's been working with that does everything in Google Sheets. I'm a big fan of Google Sheets. If it works and it works for you and your business, keep doing it. There's no need to change unless it's missing something, unless there's some aspect of your bookkeeping or your accounting system that is not there, then that's when I would recommend looking for something other than using Excel or Google Sheets, or I don't use Microsoft Office on my computers. I run Macs, but I don't even have Microsoft Office. I use Open Office, which is free open source software, and I can still open Excel files and all of that stuff. So whatever it is that you're using, if it's working for you, just like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But if you're not using anything and you are looking for an accounting system, one of the things that you need to kind of do, not kind of, what I think I highly recommend doing is making a want versus a needs, right? So what do you need in that system versus what do you want? Like, what is a nice to have? And so making that list, I'm a big list maker, right? So I love making lists. I love the satisfaction, and they have to be handwritten. I love the satisfaction of crossing the thing off the list when it's done. It helps my tiny little ADHD brain to focus on things. So I highly recommend doing that. And when you're thinking about, what that list could be, one of the first things is invoicing. Do you need to create invoices? So a good example of somebody who doesn't need to create invoices is the cleaning company that is going to be at my house when I'm done with this. They're going to be here this afternoon. They come in once a month. I do most of the little cleaning, every couple of weeks. So we have 6 cats, so I have to vacuum like every other day. But they come in and they do kind of like just better cleaning. And so they come in once a month, and I don't get an invoice from her. I know how long they're here when they're cleaning. I know what they charge an hourly rate. And so when they're done, Carissa just sends me a text message and says it's X amount of hours, and I pay her. She's got a business account with Venmo, and I just pay her via Venmo. She's not sending me invoices. And for her, because of the way that she's running her business, I've talked to her about it, she's not using QuickBooks Online. She's using a spreadsheet. She tracks how many hours, and then she, says whether or not she checks it off, whether or not she's texted what the total is. And then she marks it, highlights it when it's paid. So she has a system and it works for her. She doesn't need that invoicing. For the expense tracking, her expenses aren't that much. She has one credit card that they use to buy all of their supplies, and she knows that everything, she can pull reports or from her credit card company at the end of the year, and she can give those to her tax preparer, or she can look, download her bank or whatever. All of her expenses are the same, right? Her expenses are basically just her cleaning supplies. So she really doesn't even need expense tracking. She definitely doesn't need payroll. It's just her and her sister. And so she pays her sister as a contractor at this point, because her sister has another job. And the reporting that she does is she can just look at that spreadsheet and look at money in, money out, and know what it is that she's making at the end of the month or the end of the week or the end of the year. So for her, what she's got, it works. She doesn't need, we've talked about the QuickBooks, and she said, the only thing that I would really want to see would be, maybe for my clients who, if she moves into commercial cleaning, her clients are going to want to have a formal invoice. But right now she's just doing residential. So that's the kind of thing that you're going to want to think about is what do you need? Do you need to have that invoicing? Do you need formal invoicing? Do you want the invoicing? Do you want to be able to track when those invoices have been opened and viewed? Then you're going to look at something like QuickBooks Online because you can see that. Are you going to need expense tracking? What kind of expense tracking? Are you going to be able do you need to be able to assign specific expenses to jobs? What are you going to need payroll? If not now, well, do you think you're going to need it down the road? And then the reporting. What kind of reporting are you going to need? So the consultant that I was talking to, I had an appointment before I did this webinar. My first appointment this morning was with she does strategic planning, and she's been in the auto industry for about 20 years. So she works with a lot of the automotive suppliers that are here in the area in southeast Michigan. And she really needs to track the time for each job. So she wants reporting on that because she needs to be able to give itemized, invoices on that time, what she did in each one of those sessions. So something like QuickBooks Online is going to be a best option for her. She also is going to want to see what kind of, specific, if she decides to hire somebody and pay them, she's going to need to know how much time are they working. So how profitable, is she charging enough for those contractors that she may have working for her? So you really want to make this list of what do I need? What does my business need versus what does my business want? And then once you figure all that out, then you can kind of think about budget. I try to tell people not to fixate or worry too much about budget, because these days accounting software is, I think it really truly is very affordable. You can get really robust options for under $50, sometimes, $15, $20 a month. The other thing to think about is ease of use. So when you finally figure out what you want and you start, doing your research, you start figuring out what are the options, then the time is, okay, is evaluating each one of these pieces of software. Most of them are going to have a trial period. So you'll see when I log in and show you the interface of Checkbook that I'm still in my free trial because I signed up for it so I could show you guys. And then with QuickBooks Online, and those are the only two that I'm comparing today, but there are other options out there. There's plenty of other accounting systems out there. There's Xero. There's, I can't even remember what the Sage one is called. There's FreshBooks. There's a bunch of different options out there. Once you kind of narrow down what are the ones that have definitely what I need and hopefully some of what I want and that are within my budget, that's when you're going to want to start testing and evaluating these. I think ease of use is absolutely positively critical. One of the things that when I'm evaluating a piece of software, especially if I'm not going to be the only one using it, if maybe somebody that's working for me on my team is going to be managing and working with my clients, or if my clients are going to be logging in, my rule of thumb is if it takes me more than 15 minutes to figure out how to navigate and get really going in it, it's out. Because if it's going to take me more than 15 minutes and I'm used to using different types of accounting software, it's going to be really difficult. It's going to be a pretty big learning curve for my clients to learn it because they're not accounting professionals. They're auto repair technicians, they're business consultants, they're landscapers. So I think that the interface needs to be very intuitive. I want to say that QuickBooks Online is, but I haven't been a new user to it in 20 years or 15 years. So it may not be for someone. So what I like to do when I'm evaluating, someone is paying me to evaluate and recommend is I like to give them at least two options. And that's not just for accounting software. If I have clients that say, I need some add-on, QuickBooks doesn't do something, and I need you to find me a piece of software that does, I like to narrow it down to two. The two that I found that have the needs, have as many of the wants, the nice to haves as possible, that are within the budget, that I think might be the easiest for them to learn. I think that steep learning curve, not only for the primary, the owner of the company to learn it, but even if they're the only ones that work there, anybody that they hire down the road, it's going to be a barrier to making sure it gets used and it gets used efficiently, is one of the things that I think is just, it's very important, ease of use. Because if it's not easy to use, people aren't going to use it, and you want them to use the accounting software. The other thing is features and functionality. So if we're talking about a piece of accounting software, the first thing that I want to be able to do, obviously, is maybe invoicing. Maybe I don't need to send invoices, but I at least want to be able to record the income somehow and record expenses. And the next most important thing that I want is to be able to do a proper bank reconciliation. I want to be able to compare the statement to what I have in my accounting software and make sure that they match. You know, even with the bank feeds and QuickBooks Online, sometimes, you know, there might be a day or two where QBO can't connect to the bank because the bank is doing maintenance, or there's some other glitch. Maybe they've changed their sign-on, you know, system, or they've done something and you have to reconnect. And so you miss a couple days in the bank feeds, and you don't realize that. And so that's why bank reconciliation is really important, because you can go through and you can compare the statement to what's in your accounting software. It's one of my, I think it's one of the most common issues when I have small businesses that come to me that say, I need cleanup or catch up. And they say, I just need 2023 done, right? I need to do it for last year, or, you know, whatever. And it's really difficult to go in, and when you realize they've been in business 5 years, they may have had their 2022 taxes done and, you know, previous years, but they've never done a bank reconciliation. The bookkeeper in me gets a little panicky, because how do they know that the numbers that they gave their tax preparer, or the numbers, if they're doing their own tax returns, if those are correct? The other thing that you want to think about is the tax calculation. If you are doing invoicing and you need to charge sales tax, you want to make sure that you're not having to do that manually, right? You want a piece of software that's going to calculate your sales tax for you. You know, whether it's, you know, and this slide says whether it's income tax or sales tax or payroll taxes. I don't worry so much about the income tax, because most of my clients have tax preparers that are doing that. So seeing their income tax, you know, I'm not really worried about a piece of software, accounting software, that's going to help them prepare their annual, you know, their year-end tax returns. That's where my friend Bryce comes in with his software, and he does that for them. But if they are processing payroll within their accounting system, I definitely want to make sure that those payroll taxes are calculated accurately, and that they work within the state or states that my clients have that payroll tax nexus in. The same with sales tax. I want to make sure that sales tax is being calculated properly. So I haven't used checkbook. I'm going to be honest. I haven't used checkbook with any payroll service or with any sales tax. Right now, I really just have service-based industries that have been using checkbook, and they're here in Michigan. In Michigan, we don't have a sales tax for services, so it's just on your goods, right? So for my auto repair shops, when they, you know, charge for any kind of repair, the sales tax is only being charged on the parts that the shop is selling. It's not on any of the labor. As a bookkeeper, I don't have to charge sales tax for any of the services that I offer. So that's another reason why I tend to not want to, I like to work with service providers, and if they do have to track sales tax, I kind of try and stick to, you know, here in the mitten. Just FYI, Michigan looks like a mitten. So when I say Michigan and I point to my hand, that's why. So I want to make sure that they're going to calculate that tax, and it's going to have automatic updates. I don't want to have to keep track of any payroll tax, you know, changes, tax rate changes, other than maybe every year when, you know, we get the unemployment rate and it may go from 2.7% down to 1.5 or whatever. That's fine, because my clients are getting those notifications and letting me know. But if there's any changes to, the tax, payroll tax laws, I want a piece of software that's going to automatically do that. The same with sales tax. One of the great things about QBO when it's dealing with sales tax is it knows when you have the company address in and you have the customer address in and you create an invoice and you have an item that's taxable, QBO will automatically decide or determine whether or not it's going to be an origin-based or destination-based sales tax. And then based on, the address of the business and or the customer, it's going to apply the correct sales tax. Sales tax gets really wonky in certain states. In Michigan, it is 6% across the whole state. There's no county, city sales tax. It's super, super easy. But I know out in California, you have state sales tax, you have county, you have city. And then when you get to like Arizona, it gets cuckoo bananas because you can have a different sales tax across the street. If anybody wants to see the craziness of sales tax, you can actually, I believe Avalera still has a sales tax map, and you can drill down into that and you can see what the sales tax rates are. It's, the last time I looked, it was a little crazy. The other thing that you want to think about as far as features and functionality is financial forecasting. Do you need projections and forecasts? You're going to want to make sure that you pick a piece of software that has that. QBO has, you always are going to want a profit and loss and balance sheet. I think that's just standard reporting for any accounting package that you're looking at. But if you need forecasting and you want to say, okay, based on my history, what can I expect to have happen in the future? You're going to want to make sure that there are, cash flow tools as well as cash flow statements, and they may have some add-ons that you can add to that piece of software. So that kind of is a nice lead into that integration with other tools. So do you have an industry specific piece of software that your company uses? And is that piece of software going to connect with QBO? I have a guy who is a lawn service. He doesn't do full-blown landscaping design or anything. He just does cuttings, and he also now has like a dump trailer. So if you need, like you're cleaning out your garage or your basement, I don't think you guys Texas have basements, do you, Paul? Oh, ask that every year and tell me no. I don't understand how y'all can function without a basement. I'm in my basement right now in my office. I don't know where you put your stuff. So, so if you're cleaning out whatever, he'll come into your dump trailer. So he has a landscape, he has a piece of software that he does all of his invoicing, and it doesn't work with QBO. And honestly, we don't really need it to. He just works in that piece of software, and that's fine. And then what we do in QBO is we don't track any of the accounts receivable or open invoices because he's managing that in that piece of landscape software that he has, his lawn service software. And then what I do, because I'm not managing his AR, I'm not checking in to tell clients, hey, you're past due, he's doing all that. When he does get paid, those deposits actually get pulled in through the bank feeds, and it just gets posted to his income account through the deposit. So same with like any clients that I had that are medical providers. They have their medical billing software or their practice management software that they're using, and then when the deposits hit, we just post those to income. But you want to see, is the software package that you're looking at, is that going to integrate? Do you even need it to integrate with any of the software that you're already using? Having it integrate is really helpful, especially if you are doing any e-commerce or anything like that. But again, you want to know how it's going to connect. Because I had a client who had a piece of her e-commerce was connected to QBO, and the issue was it was bringing in every single invoice, and she did like crazy business during the holidays. So she would sometimes have 1,000, 1,500 transactions a day. And so every single one of those was getting pulled into QuickBooks Online, which was making it really difficult to pull up reports because there was so much data. So If it does connect, you want to make sure that you know how it's connecting. Is it bringing in each individual piece of each individual transaction, or can you set it up to just bring in a summary of that day, that week, that month? So a good example of another piece of software is one of my auto repair shops. They use ShopKey, they use Mitchell One. We don't have every transaction. I have a posted order report that they send me every month. This has worked like clockwork. I know it's not automated and it's not streamlined as much as it could be, but honestly, we don't need every single piece of software, and he doesn't want to pay the couple $100 a month to have that connector software, because he can just send me a report that shows me the posted orders for the month, and I put in one transaction for the entire month of sales. So, and then at the end of the month, we can pull any of those reports. So with integration, you want to think about, does it, but also if it does, how does it integrate? And how do I need it to integrate? The other thing that you kind of want to think about is the scalability. How many users can you use with that piece of software? With Checkbook, I think it's unlimited. And then with QuickBooks Online, depending on what level of QBO subscription, that's going to tell you how many users that you can. Are there new features? And if those new features, is it kind of like an a la carte thing for the features, or are you going to have to upgrade to the next subscription level to get some of those new features? So that's an important thing to think about too. How is it stored, right? Is it unlimited storage? So with QuickBooks Online, my data goes back to 2003, 2002, when I started as a contractor. So my business didn't actually start until 2005. My LLC wasn't created until 2005, but I was doing it, I was running my business as a sole prop, back in 2002, 2003. So, and I have all of that data. I can pull up a report in QuickBooks Online, a P&L for all dates, and then have it subdivided by year, and I could go back 20 years. I don't want to, but I can. So think about that. What is the storage, especially if it's a cloud-based system? And then think about how easy is it to upgrade to those higher subscription levels, and also can you downgrade? So with QBO, I have a client who during pandemic or before pandemic, he was a photographer. He did a lot of red carpet events. So he was out in LA. He was super busy before 2020. And then 2020 came along and work just fell off and he had to shift. So where he was using QuickBooks Online Plus, once 2020 came and he kind of had to completely shift his whole business model and the type of work he was doing, we actually dropped him down and we downgraded him down to QuickBooks Simple Start because that's all he needed. So you want to think about that as well when you're thinking about, what is my accounting system going to look like? And then I kind of talked about that. So when we're talking about the integration capabilities, again, you want to identify what systems you need to have that you need to integrate, whether it's like a CRM, maybe it's some sort of inventory management. Thinking about QuickBooks Online, it doesn't do assemblies. So if you are assembling something, you have 3 different pieces of inventory that are separate inventory items, and you're putting them all together and creating a completely new piece of inventory. QBO is not going to be able to do that. You're going to have to add a piece of third-party software to do that assembly for you. And then you have to think about, what level does that software doing that inventory, that assembly, does it require me to have Plus or Advanced? Probably, if you want to have inventory turned on, or maybe you don't need that because it's just going to push in some journal entries or some other information. I know Bryce hates journal entries. I know he's listening. It's just going to push in that information as a summary so that at the end of the quarter, the end of the month, you can see what is your inventory evaluation. You want to look at a list of any pre-built integrations. The software that you pick may have an app store. I know with Xero, you can go to they're approved, they're going to have recommended apps that they suggest. QuickBooks Online has apps.com. I know Checkbook works with a few. Again, assess that integration. How easy is it going to be to set it up, to map everything from that piece of software into your accounting system? And also, how much like pending of that connection are you going to need? So make sure that you read those reviews and you talk to support, and because if something changes in QBO, you may have to adjust something over in that other piece of software or vice versa. Also think about that automation and that workflow. Like I was talking about the one client that I had where she's super busy during the holidays. Yeah, the automation was amazing and it automatically pushed all of that information into QBO, but getting detail reports, summary reports were great. We could see how much, what the sales were for the month, but the minute we drilled down to look at some of the detail from the month, those reports just got really, it just bogged the whole thing down because there was, 5,000 transactions in 3 or 4 days. It takes, even a cloud-based system, it takes a while to churn through that. And then you can't scroll. So you want to think about, yeah, it's great to have the automation, but do I really need it? Again, same kind of situation with my repair facility. I could have all of that stuff getting pushed into QBO, but it doesn't take me more than 5 minutes to enter that one transaction a month in. So there's really no need to do that integration. And then the next thing you want to do is just make sure that you do have, it is a secure system. Are they going to allow multiple users? One of the things I cringe at is when I find out that people are sharing logins. I know QBO has its an audit log, so you can see when someone is logged in, you can see when they've logged out. QuickBooks Time also has a very good audit log, so you can see what people are doing and who's doing what. So you want to make sure that you do have that security and that integrity that's in place, and there are access controls as well as encryption while you're using it. Most companies do these days. When we're talking about security, I kind of mentioned that you want to make sure that there is some, security, the access. You want to have maybe some role-based access in QBO. I can set up, especially in QBO Advanced, I can kind of pinpoint the users and what access they have. So you want to make sure any integration that you have, or even your accounting system, allows you to set it up so that you can limit what some people are doing. So QBO, you can set up, a time tracking only user so that all they can do is log in and track their own time. For nonprofits, one of the things that QBO offers is a report only user. So I've worked with a number of different boards over the years, and one of the first things I do is say, let's get all the board members set up as report only users so they're not bugging the bookkeeper or the treasurer for reports all the time. They can go in and log in and they can look at a check detail, and they can sort it by date or by check number or by name, however they want to look at it. They can do that, and they don't have to ask the treasurer or whomever is doing the books for every different report. Also, with your accounting system, you want to make sure if it's locally installed locally on your computer, does it do automated backup? So back in the days when I had a lot of clients that were using desktop, I would tell them, just set up QuickBooks Desktop so that it's automatically doing a backup every 3 times you close. The other thing with that is if you're using a desktop or a locally installed piece of software, do the backups, but also test the backups. I can remember one time I had a client a million years ago in another lifetime. They were doing their backups, but they were never restoring the backups to test. And finally, their desktop file just kind of like died. It had corruption in it. And when they went to go do the backup, I looked at the file size and the file size was 0. It was going through the backup process, but the file was so corrupted, it wasn't actually backing anything up. And then make sure that whatever it is that you're using, whether it's cloud-based, again, you've got that data encryption and or network security. And then also make sure that it stays in compliance with any industry standards or any regulatory requirements that you have. So if you're in the medical field, you want to make sure that it provides it's HIPAA compliant. And then I can't recommend audit trails enough so that you can see exactly who did what. I had a client who I would, every time I would, I was back in the day when I would go on site and he would say, well, QuickBooks just did this, or you did this the last time you were here. And it was bring me great joy because he was kind of a jerk. He was the partner. There was three partners, and two of them I really liked, and one of them was just kind of a jerk. And so I'm not gonna lie, the little petty part of me took great joy in showing him the audit log and the audit trail and saying, actually, no, look, I can see here, this is your login and you did this. It wasn't QuickBooks just doing it. Software doesn't just do stuff. And it wasn't me, it was you, my man. So I will say I really did like that. So make sure that you do have that compliance aspect as well. So there's other things to consider. Customer support is huge. I am not a fan of having to call support. But you want to figure out what's the best form of support for you and or the people that are working in your business. If it's email or if it's a chat, what is the response time? Test that out before you actually sign up for it and make sure that it's going to work for you. Again, the pricing structure, you want to make sure when you're looking at the pricing, is that a monthly or an annual subscription? Do you get a discount on an annual subscription? And what happens if you sign up and you pay for a year and in 6 months you realize, man, I really thought this software was going to be amazing, but oh boy, it is just, we have made a horrible decision. Are you going to be able to cancel and get a refund? Any feature add-on or cost for that. And again, going into that compliance and updates, you want to make sure that it's going to be complying with any of your local regulations or anything like that. So now we have just a couple minutes. One of the reasons why I love checkbooks so much is the pricing. It starts at under 10. If you pay for a year at a time, it's under like 10 bucks a month. It's so cheap, right? It's $9.87. And again, this is like right now while we're doing this in August of the year of our Lord 2024, but it is so affordable. And what's great about this is, if you have multiple businesses, or maybe you are an accounting professional like myself, you can pay for the subscription and then include that in your fees. And like for the entrepreneur, you get 5 businesses. So, and then you get 10 businesses. But the great thing is the $9.87, if it's just your business, you pay for a year. I mean, it's pretty cheap. Even if you pay monthly, it's still under $20. It's $19.75. It's just a really cool program. Some of the features is that you have unlimited simultaneous users. So compare that to QuickBooks Online. Simple Start, you get 1 user and 2 accountant users. Essentials, you get 3 users. Plus, you get 5. Advanced, you get 20. But as you get those extra users, you're paying more and more each month. You can automatically bring in the transactions. It does a lot of kind of automatically suggesting or saving you time to do the categorization from your bank feeds the same way that QuickBooks Online does. You can manage vendor bills, you can print checks. So I'm not going to read each one of these, but it does the bank reconciliation is super easy with this. I will say the one thing that I did not necessarily like all that much about this was when I want to do a transfer, I have to add it. Like if I'm making a transfer to a checking to a savings account, I have to add it in both locations. Okay, no big deal. I mean, it was like the one thing that I found that like I wasn't really ecstatic about. But basically, it's really affordable. And again, unlimited users if you need to. I haven't really had to add too many users. So I'm not sure like what restrictions you can put on them, but you can also invite your accountant with them. You can do reports, you can do 1099s, and it does work with Stripe and PayPal payments. So you can send invoices and have your customers pay you via Stripe if you have a Stripe account or PayPal. So it's pretty handy. This is what it looks like. I'm just going to log in. One of the other things with it is I can just use my Google. So I have the single sign-on. So I'm just going to use my Google login to sign up. or to log in. And this is what the interface looks like. And I left this because I haven't done anything with it. So this is what it looks like. And it's going to give you your chart of accounts out here at the bottom. You can create new ones if you need to. You can go in and edit these. I can say, hey, for this client trust account, maybe I don't necessarily need this. But if you go back to your dashboard, you can go in and you can edit some of these. I can delete that if I not want to. I can change the name of it. So you can change any of these, edit, and it gives you everything that you need. You don't necessarily need to use all of these. If I go over to my accounts, this is where I can see all of those accounts. So if I want to see the check register, I'm going to go into my business checking. This would show me all of the transactions. I don't necessarily have any. One of the cool things that I liked about this is it's default to the month, but I can say, hey, really quickly, I can look at all of the transactions just by clicking this current year. I can look at the last year. I can look at 2 years before or 3. It's just a really cool kind of interface. I can manage my customers or my customers here. These are like my vendors. I can manage any vendor bills that I have. My customer list, I can start adding them. So I just go here and I click new, put in all of the information if I need to. It does give me the option to import as well, and I can choose that file, and it will show you that you can see you can import it from QuickBooks or using a CSV, and it will give you an example file as well if you go over to the FAQ. And if I go over here to my invoices, I can create any invoices. I can create items if I need to. So if I want to create a new item, I can say, hey, this is my new item. And we want to have this post to just, my regular sales account. And I can just put, this is my default sales, right? And I can say that I charge, $100 for this, and then I can save that item. So now I've got a sales item. I can go in and create a customer, and we'll create a customer here. I'm just going to put in the name, just quick and dirty here. Now if I go over to invoices, I can say I want to create a new invoice, and I can say put in whatever I want. I can just say, hi Bryce, new invoice. Amy. I really like this software. And then I can say there's just one of those, right? And this is the invoice number, not one of those, but I'm going to call this my invoice. I can say it's 2345. My customer, I'm going to choose Bryce. This is non-recurring. This is just a one-time thing, but I can make this invoice recurring if I need to. I can create this as an estimate. I can save it as a draft invoice, or once I send it, the status will change to sent. So my description here, I'm going to use this new item, default sales, $100. I'm going to charge him 2 hours of that. And so now I can just click save, or I can go ahead and email. I can also add an item directly from this invoice. So now I can save. So now when I go to my invoices, I have an invoice list here, right? So I can see I've only created one, but if I want, I can go in and I can view this, and I can choose to print it as a PDF. It will generate that PDF so you can see what it looks like. It's very plain. I like it, right? Easy peasy. The other thing that we can do is when we go to our accounts, if we go to our dashboard, I can choose to link a bank or credit card. And so you have to verify your account, but connecting these accounts is actually really easy. And once you get it connected, and I'm not really going to connect my bank account because then I'd have to put in my login and everything. But what's really cool is just like QuickBooks Online bank feeds, it remembers what you did, and it will make suggestions, and it makes it really easy to go through. So if you have Amazon in there and you posted it to office expenses, the next time it sees Amazon, and you can create rules too. You can go in and you can just do a whole bunch. If you see a bunch of Amazon things, you can just say, yep, just post all of those, and it just posts them directly into the system. And then we also have some reports. So if I look here at my profit and loss, you can see that I've got, my $200 invoice. I haven't paid that yet. So this is looking at this on an accrual basis. I don't have any expenses in. But this up here, I want to point out, these are all your bank transactions. So from wherever you are in this piece of software, it'll tell you how many transactions you have sitting in the bank feed. So this is saying you have, 0 that haven't been uncategorized. These are like, we think this is what it's coming from. Like, other people have posted Amazon to office expenses. So we think this might be what that is. This is saying it's been categorized from your rules. So you can see all of this, and you can get to those transactions, those expenses, from anywhere in this piece of software. I really like this software, and there are also add-ons if you need to. So you can import directly from QuickBooks, which is pretty amazing. You can do a conversion if you need to. And then you can also add Stripe and PayPal for payment options. Now, when we're talking about QuickBooks Online, I guess I created an Intuit. Let's see if I don't know what my password is. No. Let's see if it's that one. No. Okay. So I'm just gonna do my test drive. We'll just get into the test drive and I'll show you QuickBooks Online. Because it logged me out, right? So I'm gonna go to my test drive. I'm not a robot. And you can kind of just see the difference, right? So this is the test drive in QuickBooks Online. I haven't found a sandbox for Checkbook. So if you want to test it out, because it has a free trial, one of the things that you could do is you could, do the thing that I with Gmail, where like if you have like Stacy at gmail.com, you could be like Stacy plus checkbook test, right? So anything after the plus sign in a Gmail account, Gmail doesn't read, so you can create unlimited account emails. I have one called Stacy Plus Webinar at Kildal Services that I use when I sign up for webinars. So when we're looking at QuickBooks Online, a little different interface. And again, this has some data in it where our checkbook account didn't have any data in it, didn't have anything connected. But when we go into, say, like our bank feed here, into our transactions, we have, a match that's set up. It's saying, hey, I found some matches. And that's saying like there's a transaction that's already in QuickBooks, and it's matching that. We don't necessarily have any rules that are created, but if I want, I could create a rule and say, if you see, books by Bessie in the description, then, make the payee books by Bessie. Going over here to our customer list, I can add new customer here, put in all that information. So you can see they do a lot of the same things, right? So I can add a customer, I can create an invoice if I need to in QuickBooks Online, just like I did in Checkbook. It's just a different interface, and you have to figure out what you need. Do you need unlimited users and you have a low budget? Probably going to want to look at Checkbook. Do you need to, do inventory? Do you need some cash flow management? Do you need a whole bunch of other things that connect? So, you want to kind of really see what your options are or what your needs are, and then kind of go in and evaluate the software. And it might just be that maybe this interface, you don't really like this interface very much, right? Doesn't matter if it's really a much more inexpensive option than QBO. You're just not a fan of this interface, or maybe vice versa. Maybe you totally have the budget and you could do QuickBooks Online Advanced, but you're just not a fan of the interface. Then look at something like Checkbook or again, you could look at Xero or FreshBooks or something, something completely different than these two. So this is just the, the checkbook interface. Talking about QuickBooks Online pricing, I know I jumped into the software before that. As of right now, this is the pricing. You can go to quickbooks.intuit.com/pricing and find out what the pricing is. So you can see the pricing is a little bit different. For the lowest end of QuickBooks Online, without any discounts, you're paying $35 a month and you're getting 1 user and 2 accountant users. Whereas with Checkbook, if you prepay for a year, it's under $10. Even if you don't and you're paying monthly, it's still under $20. So there's a considerable price savings. You have unlimited users and you can still share with your accountant. So again, you need to kind of look at what do you need versus your budget. These are some of the features, and I did compare it to QuickBooks Online Plus. So it has a lot of the same stuff, but then it does projects. It's got some financial planning. It's got payroll add-ons. It's got receipt capture, so you can upload a receipt and QBO will read the receipt, so you can match it to a transaction that's already in QuickBooks, or you can add it and then have that transaction match to, you can post the transaction from the receipt capture and then have it matched through the bank feed. It's a seamless integration with QuickBooks Payments. So again, it's like, what exactly do you need? QBO also has mileage tracking. So all the stuff that you saw on the list of features in the checkbook, QuickBooks Online has, but it also has this stuff as well. So you're getting a little bit more for the price, but if you don't need all of this, then you can look at a cheaper option. And I can't tell you how much I really, truly, I wish I had connected a bank account, because it does, as much as I love the bank feeds in QBO, I check how the connection in the bank feeds in Checkbook. That's what really sold me on the product. So I just wanted to mention that. And so this is Kimchi, everybody. This is the new one. I have to get her out of the way because she's going to step on my keyboard. So again, this is the QBO interface. We kind of compared and contrasted both of them in the product. And that's kind of it. I know we have just a couple minutes left. I can't say enough about the North Central Texas SBDC. Call them or get on their website, make an appointment, and see what they can do to help you. Any questions? I'm going to stop sharing. Oh, Accounting Suite. Yeah, that was the other one that Bryce looked at it and really liked. I forgot about that.
So if you have any questions, please unmute yourself or put it in chat. I will say something about the automatic backup, just to take care. And I've told this story many times because it was such a nightmare. I was using QuickBooks. I was using QuickBooks Desktop,
Okay.
and I thought it was backing up,
Oh no.
but apparently it was not. And my computer crashed.
Oh.
Fortunately, my accountant had like up to like June of that year, and it was September. So I only had to recreate 3 months worth of data, but it was a nightmare.
And that's a really, I mean, it's not a good story, but it's making a good point, is that if you do have a local installed software, not only do you want to make the backup, but you want to make sure that backup is someplace else. You're backing it up to an external hard drive, or after you're backing it up, you're dumping it to Google Drive or Dropbox or something like that. And again, that's another reason why I tell people, make sure that you're also double checking and you're restoring those desktop backups, because sometimes there's data corruption. I mean, I've never met a desktop file that didn't have data corruption, ever. Like some kind of data corruption. And so you want to make sure that, the backups are working.
Yeah, it was horrendous, but it was a valuable lesson learned. Honestly, it really was. If anyone else have any questions, comments, opinions, discussion.
I love opinions, especially about accounting software. People have very strong opinions about accounting software.
Well, I can understand why. It's the ease of use. And I love all of these examples you've given us that talk about how, what to consider, things to consider, because you may not actually realize how important it is until you buy a new software, you're using it, and realize that, oh, I can't do that with this.
Yep. What I tell people when they're thinking about switching, I'll just say this and then we can like be done, is like take a week or two and just make a note, whether it's like a Google Doc or it's a notepad, like make a list of what you're actually doing in that accounting software like every day. Like, oh, okay, like now I'm doing this or now I'm doing this. And just kind of like keep track of that so that you can see how you're using it every day. And then like maybe at the end of the month, like what is your month end process? What are the features that I'm using? Because it doesn't matter what accounting software or what accounting package, nobody's using all of it. But
Right.
and every business is using kind of the same handful of things over and over and over again. And if you know what you're using, then it makes it easy to find a piece of software.
Mm-hmm. Well, Stacy, thank you so much
Thank you guys.
for this. This was great as usual. I'm going to share our schedule, our upcoming schedule. This is wonderful information. As usual, Stacy and Bryce have brought us some fabulous information. Please look at our schedule on the slide that is up there now. You can see where they will be sharing with us in the future. And we really love working with you guys.
Same. I just thank you so much for asking us to do it. We love it.
Oh yeah, we do enjoy having you guys here. You can see on the slide that we have a lot of upcoming different webinars, great topics coming up. This afternoon we have an HR topic. We've gone from accounting to HR, and tomorrow we go back to cash flow Wednesdays, tomorrow and next week, and go back into a lot of QuickBooks, tax prep, everything. And please use the QR code in the upper right-hand corner. That's where you can register for any of our webinars. We have them coming up into December. So check out our schedule there and register for webinars. But you can also get our contact information there, or schedule an appointment, or find some of the resources that we have existing on our website. And our website address is at the bottom of that slide as well. We are grant funded, as mentioned earlier, and because of that, I want to give a shout out to our benefactors. That would be the Small Business Administration, the state of Texas, North Texas SBDC Regional Office in Dallas, and our host institution, North Central Texas College. Thank you all for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you join us this afternoon for HR Solutions. We look forward to having you for all of our webinars.
Thanks again, Paula.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And this will end our webinar for this morning. Thanks so much. See you next time.